Welcome to Practical Ideas for Growth. I am Sarah Dobeck, and I am joined here today by Eric Majchrzak with BeachFleischman. Eric, do you want to give a quick introduction to the audience?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. I'm really excited to talk with you. I was just thinking actually the other day, I think you were one of the first people I met in the accounting marketing industry back so many years ago. I don't even want to say how many years ago it was.
We don't need to say the number. That's okay.
But no, thanks for the intro. Yeah, my name is Eric Majchrzak, and I am currently the Chief Strategy Officer of my firm, BeachFleischman, which is a top 200 firm in the U.S., and we're based in Arizona. And I am also our CEO-elect, which will be effective in January of 2022. But most of my accounting career has been in the capacity of a chief marketing officer up until a couple of years ago when I transitioned to the chief strategy officer. So a lot of change, not only in the profession, but with me and my firm right now. So I'm looking forward to having our conversation today.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us today, Eric. It's really rare for a non-CPA, even still today, let alone a marketer, to become a CEO-elect or managing partner of an accounting advisory firm. There's a few examples out there. Some have come from different backgrounds. I think it's a trend that will continue and should grow. I think in some situations, CPAs are great for being in that position, but we've seen a lot of examples where having an alternative background can be really beneficial. So I'm excited to dig in and talk to you a little bit more about that today.
Great.
I think one of the questions, and you probably get this a lot, Eric, I know you and I have had these discussions before, but when did you decide that you wanted to go up for that role of being the CEO-elect of an accounting firm? And, what elements, kind of conversely to that, of your background do you think had set you up for success to win that seat? Because you did. You weren't the only one, is my understanding, that was, looking to be the CEO-elect.
Great question. I do get this. I get this question asked a lot of me, and I believe it happened in 2018. We were launching a brand new strategic plan, and we worked really hard on it as a group, and we kind of mapped out what our future needs to look like as a firm. And as I'm watching this unfold, and I was driving the process of creating our strategic plan, I was like, wow, the road to getting to what we need to look like in the future definitely complements the background of not only me, but I think a marketer in general. So it played to my strengths. And that's when I kind of knew, I'm like, well, if not me, then who else would be more qualified to talk about growth and disruption and technology and all of that stuff, So that's when I kind of knew. It was 2018. In terms of the elements of a marketer's background or my background, what makes us well suited for a role like this? In my capacity as a CMO, we have to work with all constituents within the firm. So we don't have the choice to say, I don't want to work with that person, or I don't get along with that person. You just have to do it. So, we have this inherent ability to work with all sorts of personality types, which I think is important as a leader. You're a leader of all the people. So that is something I think on the personality side that lines us up well for this role. I think in terms of skill sets, bringing a strategic mindset to the role, seeing the full playing field holistically is something that's important. The willingness to take risks is another thing. Our profession is known as, primarily being risk averse. So marketers tend to like to take risks. I think we have an inherent understanding too of the competitive forces out there, disruption and things like that. So that's why I think that we're, the marketing profession in professional services, and I would throw legal in there as well. I think we're well suited for what's happening out there right now.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and we speak to this a lot in our role and our work with our clients. But And not everybody is a strategist, right? I think there's a lot of really great marketers out there, and some of them think and have that mind for strategy. I think it's something you can kind of learn, but there is a lot of inherent strength in how you view some of that. And I do think there's a lot of roles that the right marketers should be playing in helping their firms advance their strategies. And I know that that's not always the case. They don't always have that seat at the table. And that's been a long discussed topic within the AIM community around, how do you get there and how do you help your firms? And some are either open to it or not. And, there's some things you can do to build trust around that. But I really honestly believe that I think it speaks a lot to your firm, but and to the profession about where that's going. The other big shift that we pay really close attention to is that strategy becomes more important when you're looking at expanding your firm beyond compliance. And that advisory and consulting piece, it requires a whole nother level of strategy because no demand is being created for you. You have to create that demand, and you have to be able to sell and articulate your services in a way that your firm has never had to before. Because while somebody wants it, they don't necessarily need it. No government entity is telling them, or banking institution is saying you have to have this consultative service.
Right. And most firms are structurally built, and their culture surrounds a compliance type environment. And so it's not just a technical or strategic type initiative you have to put in place. It's literally changing the culture to get people to see things differently. And that is not a flip of the light switch. That is something that will take years to accomplish.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Having come up in the profession on the marketing side, what are some of the things that surprised you most in this transition to being, I guess, first that strategic, I forget the exact title that you had, and then into the CEO role?
Right. When I look at the role of a CEO, and I've been transitioning into that role, a large part of the CEO role is articulating the mission, vision, purpose, values, all of that. And surprisingly, or maybe not so much, the 4 Ps of the marketing mix. So I've been talking about this topic to marketers around the country. There are 4 Ps to the marketing mix, and one of them is product and service development. The other one is pricing. The other one is place or distribution channels. So these are things that CEOs are doing all the time. They're constantly helping, push the development of new products and services. Right here, right now at my firm, we are addressing pricing and shifting our business model away from hourly billing. In terms of distribution channels, that could be M&A. It could be acquiring new companies in other markets. It could be merging companies in. It could be expanding your existing practices or adding new service lines that you never had before. All of these are under the domain of marketing. So that's a bit of a surprise because I don't know that many people talk about the CEO role and marketing being on the same tracks, but I think they are.
Sorry, I'm having audio issues. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I cannot hear you. Sorry to our audience, I got kicked out, but we're going to keep going with everything. Thanks, Eric, for sharing that. Tell us a little bit more, about, you talked a little bit about making the leap and some of that transition and some of the challenges that you had from there. But, what's been, are you approaching marketing and business development differently now that you are a CEO, or is that, somehow similar to what you were doing before? Has anything changed there?
I would say I'm more involved publicly. As a CMO, I was more or less behind the scenes, helping guide or quarterback a lot of our growth pursuits. As my incoming role of a CEO, I'm out there more publicly. I'm meeting clients. I'm going out on the pursuits. And I would say that's the biggest difference, is actually being closer to the client. And that's been very enjoyable for me, is to have more access to clients and people in the community.
Right. And again, I still, I'm, for our audience's sake, I'm having trouble hearing you, so I apologize. I can't add to the conversation. I've just asked my colleague to come in and help facilitate the dialogue. I don't know what quite happened on our live feed, but what types of advice or tips would you have in helping anybody, either a firm that's on this path to, that wants to explore this or is making that move, and conversely, maybe for a marketer who sees a possibility for a similar path or a role to be much more strategic for their firm? And you can take those in two parts if you want, Eric.
Sure. I think if firms are in a transitional spot with succession related to executive leadership, and that could be at the CEO level or any level really, you kind of have to match what that job description looks like, the job design of a CEO, with where the profession is headed. And the two have to complement each other. And you can't really do those two things in a vacuum. So in our case, we mapped out where the profession is headed first. And then we said, and where our firm needs to go. And then we said, what are the qualities that the next CEO is going to have to get us to that point? So there's a lot of alignment that takes place. So that would be my recommendation to people, is to have that exercise. Where are we now? Where are we going? What's the profession and our firm going to look like in the future? And then what does the role of the next CEO or whatever position it is need to look like? And then you document it. And then you do your search and you figure out who's the best equipped to take the firm forward.
Eric, I think one of the things, and you kind of, answered a little bit here and there, one of the things is, what has been your biggest surprise in this transitional period? And putting your marketing lens on that, moving from the marketing leadership to the firm leadership.
Boy, I don't know. It's so much of the role and the job is about people and getting people outside their comfort zones. And, as marketers, we always had to move people outside their comfort zones, of course. Now I'm not only doing that, but I'm also moving myself out of my own comfort zone. And that's a big thing too. So kind of forcing myself and being comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable is something that's been the biggest surprise. So, and it is very rewarding too, because I think the benefits are significant when you get to, motivate people and you get to see people succeed and you can help them succeed. That's something that's very rewarding. So that's been a big surprise for me.
Awesome. And, I apologize. I'm apparently having technology issues now. My camera seems to be freezing up. What do you think is the biggest opportunity for you coming in with this position, making that transition?
I think the ability to affect and drive the narrative within our firm is just magnified now as I take on my new role. I mean, if you're at a CMO level, you already have some of that influence within your firm. But when you're the CEO, really, that's kind of like a top-down tone thing that I'm referring to. And I think that's the biggest opportunity here for me. It's almost similar to the way it might be in politics, where you have people running for office. You have the ability to frame the issues, to drive the conversation. And, we marketers love to talk. So that's something that again, kind of aligns with our background and our skill sets.
Yeah. It's funny. And I know you just recently did an interview with Ames Growth Strategies publication, Partner POV. As marketers, we're always looking for partner champions, especially friends to marketing. And this will be really nice to see how this plays out over the next several years coming from marketing. As Sarah said, it's rare that somebody from our profession makes the jump to lead the other profession. So,
Right.
you know, what I think Sarah had asked too, any other advice that you would give, I think from the partner perspective to marketers, now that you're kind of treading into that partner mentality.
Yep. So you would hope that most firms would have some sort of strategic vision or plan, and the marketers need to have access to that plan or help contribute toward that plan and look at all areas across the firm and help drive the success of those initiatives. So, you know, what I don't like to see is marketers just being tucked conveniently in the corner, just doing advertising and promotion and social media. You know, I just mentioned how there are 4 P's to the marketing mix, and there's product and service development, and there's pricing, and there's all these other things. They have to expand into those areas. And I think firm leaders and partners want value out of their marketing department beyond promotion of the firm. So I think it's a huge opportunity. And not only that, I think you're helping the partners achieve the strategic vision of the firm by contributing toward that. So marketing departments and marketing leaders, try expanding in some of these other areas, even though it may be a little bit uncomfortable. And you actually don't have to know, you know, a lot about these subject matter topics, but, you know, we're great facilitators as marketers. We have to do this all the time. So help drive the process, help facilitate it. Heck, you can even help find a consultant to come in to help accomplish the goals. There's so many things we can do to contribute toward that end. So.
Yeah, you know, and you know this, I think you've even presented on it within, as marketers, we always want to get that seat at the table. We're encouraging partners to then, you know, make sure you give that marketer the seat at the table. And then once you have that seat at the table, really elevate that on both sides. Eric, I know we could talk about this forever. You have so much insight, and I'm sure we'll be following up with you once you can make the complete transition. Thank you for your patience, and thank all of our watchers today for the patience with the tech issues. Any other follow-up thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I just think it's an exciting time to be a marketer. I think our specific profession of marketing in the accounting industry is changing radically. And I just want to say there's so much opportunity out there. And so just keep your eyes and ears open for these opportunities, and don't be afraid to take risks or to bring ideas to your firm and implement them. I mean, this is our time right now.
Sounds like a Goonies move right there.
Yeah, right.
We'll definitely be watching you, and we'll be, you know, be curious to see where everything ends up. So anyway, thank you again for your patience with the tech issues today. Eric, thanks for joining us as always, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.